We are the representative from OUHK. I'm Michelle. They are my partners, Anita, Vincent, and Louis. Today, we are going to have a presentation of a very new company, Inside Robotics Limited. And here is the agenda of our presentation. First of all, we will talk about the background of this new company. And after that, we will have the SWOT analysis. And then we will talk about the challenge of this new company facing. And then after knowing the challenges, we will talk about the goals of the business, of the company. And then we will discuss the strategies we are going to suggest for this small company. And then we will talk about the timeline and alternative solution. And last but not least, we have the conclusion. So first of all, the background information of IRL, Inside Robotics Limited. It is a very small organization. It is just a startup company. It was founded in 2009 by 3 founders only. The main product is for the wildfire protection. The mission of this company is to provide smart system to the infrastructure management. So next, we will talk about the business model of this industry. Actually, in this industry, they are divided into 3 different parts. The first one will be the government. The second one is the SI, hardware, and the IRL, which is the small company. The first one is that the government will ask the SI to have the bid. And then if the SI is successfully bid for the project, they will contact the hardware manufacturer. And the hardware manufacturer will contact the company that provides the software for the wildfire protection. And that will be the position of IRL. And there will be 2 revenue for the IRL. And that is from the SI and then from the government maintenance. So next, we will talk about the SWOT analysis. And I will pass it to Anita.
Thank you, Michelle. And let's talk about the SWOT analysis. It includes strength, business, opportunity, and threat. For the strength, it is a short business cycle because IRL is more flexibility. So because they do not provide hardware, their inventory is lower. And their product is a high value added product. They develop a good stakeholder relationship and their interest alignments, and they provide a warm organizational cultures, which is provide above over 20% salaries for their engineers, and develop a free hands policy for them, and delegates a lot of power for them to do their jobs. And for the business, it's about a limited budget and their simple business model because they only have a few engineers and few people in the organization. So the lack of human resources, manpowers, and they do not have a clear products because they do not have a product with patent. So they are easy to replace with another competitors. And let's talk about the opportunities. IRL has developed a wide range of markets such as China, US, Europe, or Australia, which have a high demand for forest fire protections. And the competitors is 2 nodes, and it's only small number of competitors in the market. And for the first is because the patent from the competitors and the risk of liabilities. So the other before we know we understand the strategies, we can understand the goals and the challenges first.
Thanks, Anita, for the part on the SWOT. In this section, we have looked at why our company is basically doing good. As said, we are having a good product, innovative. We have a good high value added product. We are facing a number of weaknesses, like our product is not protected and things like that. So basically, we summarize our directions or what we wish to accomplish or what suggestions we give to this company in 3 items. The first item is that there's an opportunity for investment. which is mentioned in it's mentioned that an investor would like to invest $7 million in us. We have to decide whether we should get this investment, and if we get this investment, how should we spend it in the most effective manner is our first task or challenge in that sense. Our second task is also, after we have add on these business activities, how will we modify our business model? Will it make it better or worse? And lastly, it's basically the third, second, and third is the same. So it's two tasks. Right. So currently, we're dividing our development. Like our company will look in this direction in three phases. So we think that in three phases we'll make our product better. The first one is the first phase we have to ensure we are the market leader in China. That's the short term. We wish to be the major fire prevention software vendor for all the forest fire monitoring cameras in China. This is important because we ensure two goals is achieved. The first goal is that we wish to make sure that our product works. So if the whole China is monitored by us and we effectively ensure that there's no wildfire, it shows to the world that we are good enough, And also we need to also get revenue for the expansion activities in phase 2. Getting into phase 2, we want to get certifications. We want to others, like in other majority governments in other parts of the world, to know that we are really good and certified. This requires a big sum of money. That's why we have to get revenue from phase 1. This target we wish to move to Australia because Australia is a developed country and they have really stringent requirements on this vendor, on our software. So if we can persuade the Australian government to adopt our software system, then we can show to the world that even such a developed country supports us in that sense. And lastly, after doing all of this, of course we can go international and go to other countries too. So this is basically our timeline for development. So all things begin with money, and as mentioned, an investor is interested to invest $7 million in us. So how can we use this $7 million most effectively to define a working strategy for our company? Basically, we have 4 tasks we think that it is paramount that our company can do, and this $7 million will be distributed to work in these 4 tasks to ensure that we can leverage on our strengths and minimize our weakness. The first task is that we have to improve the product quality. Our company started in 2009 with only 3 engineers. We now have 11. Through analyzing our software and our competitors, we found that our product is innovative, it's effective, but it's quite an early phase of development. We need to employ more software engineers to make our product really reliable in that sense. And we have 2 major areas that we think that we should look into. The first one is prevention. Most of the other competitors mainly can detect forest fire when it happens, and this is quite if you detect forest fire that happens, then what happens is that the fire is dead, the fireman sends out to rescue the fire. What we want to do is that we want to have our software with the predictive ability. Let's say that the weather is dry and the temperature is high, and then we can actually alert the fire department in that area to be responsive. And secondly, we also want to have our maintenance crew stand by. If that area is highly risky, what we will do is we'll immediately dispatch our maintenance crew to make sure that the cameras are really well installed and they won't be dysfunctional when a fire really happens. So that's a really competitive advantage that other competitors don't have at the moment. So anticipate forest fire, and so also link with fire department and link with SI. There's also a second thing we want to develop, and how to go through this is that we employ the researchers and we have to do a lot of field studies. Apart from doing in the laboratory, we want to bring our product to the field to do the research, and this will really require quite a sum of money. For this, we plan to invest $2.5 million of the $7 million. It's roughly around 30%. So we want to allocate around that. I think it's important, if we have a good product, our marketing we don't need to spend so much on marketing. We want to spend around $1.5 million on applying a patent. Currently, our product is not patented, and it's really dangerous. As you know, in the Chinese market, there can be many people to copy our products. we must protect our products despite it's really costly. 1.5 million is around 15 to 20%, but if we don't do it, if others copy, we'll lose everything, you know. So we must spend this sum of money on patents. Second, after we have a really good product and it is really protected, we must ensure that there is a demand for it. By ensure demand, as mentioned in our business model, basically our revenue comes from the system integrators. They pay us for the software so that they can install a system to monitor the fires. What really we want is that we want to have a strategic partnership with them. We want them to select our product and not our competitors. And we are not going to go for price competition. What we want to do is we want to have really good communications with them. And our major partners are those from mainland. And so what we are trying to do is by working with mainland, we look at what they need apart from being inexpensive. Basically, those people also want to know the technology. In China, a lot of universities are still building up, and they want Hong Kong, like citizens of Hong Kong, to bring in technology and research methods to China. And if we can work with them, we can invite the Chinese partners to work in our own laboratory. Then they can actually work with us, they can learn, and they can witness the power of our software. In that, we can actually reduce marketing costs, but we can effectively tell our suppliers, this is a really good software, and that's why you should select us, you know. It's basically a win-win solution. And after they know that our product is really good, and we have co-development projects with them, so we want to build up a partnership with them, and in the end, probably we end with a joint venture and profit sharing scheme. We feel that we want them to join us and align our interests, both financially and also in other aspects like in research and also in our co-development. So this is the internal strategies we have. Now I'll pass to Louis. He'll talk about how we employ people and stuff like that.
Thank you, Vincent. And besides the marketing strategies that we have mentioned before, such as the product quality improvement, joint venture with the SI in China, and some development project with the local partners. Another strategies that we want to emphasize is the internal strategies, which is the human resource strategies that we emphasize in order to improve the competence within the organization. What we are going to do through the human resource strategy is through different human resource function to generate different competitive advantage for our company. The first one is through the recruitment. The aim of our recruitment is to recruit the previous researchers that they have previous experience in developing different programs and software to monitor different infrastructure, and they have actually carry out infrastructure management in the field. And moreover, as program development require different creativity and innovation, so another criteria for us to recruit is the innovative people that they are come from different program development area in different industry, or even they are fresh graduate from the university. And the third criteria of recruitment is the experienced programmer that they have conquered solid program development, software development experience in the previous organization. The ideal year would be 5 to 6 years would be a ideal criteria and ideal applicants for our company. And the second strategies that we want to emphasize is to increase our competitive advantage through training our employees. The content of our training is quite a diversified program that through providing different field trips to encourage our candidates, our employees to investigate and understand the effect of weather on forest fire and different natural disaster issues. And the other content is through group discussion that they may discuss with each other about different criteria in managing different programs, developing different software. And moreover, the most important goals that we want to achieve through the internal strategy is to create a human-oriented culture, that they are cohesive, they are able to brainstorm different ideas in managing different programs and developing different software. So, however, as we are exposure to an unpredictable business environment, so we generate an alternatives for us in order to respond to different in a future environment. If the joint venture with SI unfortunately come to a failure, there is an alternative for our company, for IRL to adopt, is to entry to Australia. As we all know that the geographical features of Australia is that there are 99% of that it is desert, and there are only 1% of area available for human beings to live. So it raises the concern of Australian government about the importance on preventing forest fire and the importance of afforestation in the country. So we believe that our software, our program, that we not just prevent, but we also predict the future exposure or future possibility of the forest fire, can attract the Australian government to adopt our strategies, adopt our software, because we believe that our software is not just a software that prevent forest fire, but a software that predict, that tailor the needs of Australian government. And the reasons that we choose Australia is because the geographical features of Australia have provide a great market potential, and the regulation in Australia in monitoring different exporter from overseas is very rigid. And we believe that our software, our program can attract the Australian government, and we can enter the Australian market despite its rigid regulation. And this will create a sense of prestige for our company. So, besides alternative, there is a more conceptualized timeline for us to develop our program. In the first year we develop a 5-year plan, and the first year will be this year, 2013. We will aim at improving our product quality. Not just prevent forest fire, but to predict the possibility of area that have forest fire. In 2014, we will begin of our campaign on patent application and begin our joint venture with the SI in the Chinese government. And we believe that the negotiation process and application process would be a long period. So we have reserved a longer time for these two strategies to adopt and implement effectively. And when it comes to 2016, we will develop a comprehensive evaluating on whether the alternatives that I need to implement or not, which I have mentioned before, the entry of Australian market is really necessary or not. So here comes to our conclusion. IRL is an organization that aims at doing the critical infrastructure management. So we believe that we improving our product quality, becoming more reliable and high quality, we can provide and increase our attractiveness to different government all over the world. And because of the patents, it will provide us a protection period or a shield that allowed us to gain more competitive advantage or even increase our sense of prestige in the market. And through developing a relationship with the SI, such as the joint venture that I have mentioned before, we believe that developing joint venture with SI can enhance our cooperation with the China market, because one of the SI which located in and monitor the Guangdong province is already one of our shareholders. Cooperating with other SI will probably, and I believe, will provide us an advantage of monopoly in the China market. And moreover, as organization relies on employees' contribution of individual, we believe that people management is very critical for our company to future growth. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Actually, when we were reading the cases, do you want to raise all 7 million? I mean, this has not been addressed in the presentation in case I miss it.
Yeah, yes, it's true. Thanks for the question. We wish you to ask because we have too much content in our set slides already. And the answer is yes. There's a number of questions like, should it be raised in phrase or should it be raised in regular periods or in a whole lot? The second question was the pros and cons of such fundraising activities. The answer to this question is yes. We think that it's important to have the $7 million for the investment, and it's not in phrase. We want to have it in one whole log. There are a number of reasons for the whole log fundraising methods. From the case, it's not indicated whether the source of the funding, but we assume it's from angel investors or other investors of some sort. As a $7 million log of company comes from company, it basically helps, as I said, in the 3 major developments we wish to do, around 30% in our product developments, doing good R&D, making a really smooth software. And why 2.5 is that, as mentioned in the case, from since establishment to now, which is 2009 to 2012 is 3 years, we have been spending $1 million on R&D. If we spend $2.5 million more on R&D, we basically can develop a software which is 2 or 3 times stronger than our current innovation, which basically makes our software a really strong competitive advantage in the system. And the other $1.5 million is for patents, which is really important. After such an expensive software, we want to have it really protected, right? So these two accounts for around $4 to $5 million, and there's also $2 million in reserve. Why is it? Because as you can see in the case, we are really a small company. In fact, when I read the case, I think it's a really risky business we are doing. There are a number of risks, as mentioned in the case. We have a court case going on in Guangzhou. Our software is basically easily copied, and if we go for court, we have to use this $2 million to fight and hire lawyers. And some of our software development involves patents held by other competitors. We have to buy them, or we have to somehow persuade them, which may also involve cash. And we also have to have cash just in case we need to go to price war against our competitors. So that's why we think the whole $7 million, the whole lot of dollars should be available as soon as possible to maximize our cash flow. And let's say if the cash is not used, which is good, let's say we have the $2 million always in our reserve, we can always generate interest income from them. So if we receive the whole lot of income now, basically we use them for good or higher, for good benefits. If we don't use them, it's saved in bank, we just get an average return, but it's not a loss. Of course, there are also cons, we have to pay something to get the money, right? Either it's in form of giving shares, issuing new shares for the angel investor, or it's a loan which have to pay interest. But either way, we believe that if we issue shares, we will lead to the dilution of shares, then all the shareholders will get less payments. But from what I read in the case, all our 3 founders are quite long-term investors. As you can see, our investment actually was in a lot of ways. We also allow people with talents to get our shares. By asking them to join our company, we give them shares or benefits. From this, we can see that our 3 founders are not interested really in short-term revenue or short-term dividends. If we aim for long-term, actually, this $7 million, yes, will dilute the immediate return on the shares. But in long run, it's very effective shield, as mentioned, with all those risks. This extra cash will hedge against the risk. So it's a grow business, or it's nothing if the risk comes. And if long run, I think that the $7 million get down with worth, and I think both the angel investor and also our 3 investors will actually gain in long run by this angel investment.
I was going to ask, in relation to the angel investor, if we make an assumption for the minute that it is a share investment, not a loan investment. You then talked about your strategic alliances with the SIs, and you talked about joint ventures or possibly shareholding arrangements. Would that not dilute the angel investor? You talked about your founders are willing to take dilution. What about your angel investor?
Yes, angel investing will really care about the return, usually in short run too, because like they want to ensure a quick success of returns because it's their cash and they expect return on cash, like other products on the market, or they just go to other competitors. To this, we have two responses to that. The one is, as mentioned, in the case, investing is difficult for our company. As we can see, when our company developed from 2009, we basically did not have too much cash investors. Two reasons are mentioned in the case. Firstly, because we're a Chinese company, and we don't want to attract Japanese investment. That was a big bang, because like Chinese and Japanese are having some conflicts, and also difficulty during our early stage of startup is because institutional investors would not like to invest in such a small software company because of our risk. So institutional investors were not a huge fan of us in terms of investing. Now we have an angel investor. We assume it's not these two types because like if it's these two types, then it won't come out anyway. So it's not an institutional investor, it's not a Japanese fund. What I can say is this angel investor should have some common goals with us. Like in the growth of our company, we actually have given shares to talents and not money. So by attracting talents to our company, yes, we'll reduce our earnings, but as talents come to us, our company grow with the talents. And so I assume, and also one of them, and apart from aligning with our talents, we also align with stakeholders. As mentioned, we also have shareholders who is a hardware manufacturer and also a shareholder, which is actually one of the SIs. So we already have them as a shareholder and we align the interest. One of our major advantage of our business is we align our interest in terms of both financially and also like knowledge sharing, as I mentioned earlier, and also like talent is a knowledge sharing. We align with SI for research and co-development. So I assume that investors should also have some interest or share our core values of like we will sacrifice a bit of profits, but yes, we want to have a good growing company, we want to do something good in China and things like that. So that fund will probably need to share our common core values when they invest with us, and it's probably a long-range investment. And what I can say is, long-range investment is not a problem. Long-range investment is a problem where it is risky. If a long-range investment is not too risky and have a good return, that is a profitable investment, So to rephrase your question, I think is how we can ensure the risk of our investment, of his investment, is kept to minimal, and he will not lose all his money in one night because we go bankrupt. So there are measures like we have a 2 million reserve fund in free cash flow just in case we need it, and we're employing top-notch researchers. We're having really good development prospects, and this development prospect is actually guaranteed by our past history. Like we already have worked with SIs, it proved to work. I want to have worked with more SIs, and with this good track record, we want to persuade them that yes, this strategy will work. And all investment involves some risk, and we hope that we are actually doing good too. Like by preventing forest fires is actually a technological advancement for not just our company, but to help China. So these are many core values I hope the investment will share when they invest in our company. Yeah, hopefully you will invest in us.
I think the strategic partners considering the risk and also the core values, all that are totally right. But at the same time, they also consider about the returns. So like if you raise all the 7 millions, then if you just put to the interest generation loan or account, then that cannot generate enough return for the shareholders, for the strategic partners. So in your 5-year plan, I see only you spending money, say like improve quality or patent, all that. How do you see the income generation that will benefit to the shareholders and the partners?
Yeah.
Right.
So actually, we have the strategic alliance with the SI. Why do we have to cooperate with them? Because I just want to show you the business model again. Because right now, IRL is here. He is in the last position. But why we can we want to work with him, work with CSI, and because we don't want the hardware company to erode our money. And that's why we want to go with them. And as you say, yes, of course, we have to spend money on our product. We have to do some R&D because because if we improve our quality of the product, we have the bargaining power to talk to the SI and show that we are confident with our software, and therefore they will work with us. And with this, so with this R&D, and we are keep going to work with other companies so we can enter into different market. And this is not only spending money on the on improving the quality of the product or the patent product. We are actually use that. We have to need some new products to generate the money. So it is an ongoing process. This is an ongoing process.
And your question is really tough. I've been thinking for all that time, An investor probably want dividends if you are a shareholder investor, And it's tough to say, but from all the knowledge of business in my past, for software companies, new start in Hong Kong, like especially those in Science Park, they have 2 to 3 staff. Usually the investment period is quite long. From all the experience from a few companies which I've in touch with, they probably invest for 5 to 7 years, a sum of money, 5 to 7. Then the company will usually be sold to a third party, and then the investor will get back his return. Usually that's the funding model for most companies, and it's not usual from my experience and my perception. It's not usual for such small-scale startup in Hong Kong to pay dividends very quickly, especially for the angel investor. So what I guess is, or hope is, the angel investor is actually willing to invest in long term. Probably it's very difficult for us to guarantee dividends in, let's say, 2 to 3 years, and we don't want to cheat the investor. That's the reality. It's basically a huge investment. But we are developing a product. There's a good chance there's a very high return when this product is matured, and we give them evidence why the chance is high, and hopefully you'll be persuaded. And after, let's say, our 5 years plan, probably our product is matured. It is beautifully marketed in China, in Australia, in other countries. And then at that time, when we sell our product, we'll get licensing fee from the government, which then we can be used. Then at that time, either we'll keep the ownership rights of our software, and we'll distribute back the licensing fee as dividends to our investors and our shareholders. Or if we think that it's long enough and we want to move on to new things, then maybe we'll sell the company to let's say to IBM or say some big companies, and then also you'll be rewarded for your investment in that way. So yes, in short run, it's very difficult for quick cash or quick investments, quick return on investments. But hopefully you believe in our long-term vision, and by these strategies, we hope that you'll be persuaded that we can work.
Have you made any assumptions on your cash flow? So in other words, your 7 million coming in, your 3.5 million going for development, is that entirely in the sense of salaries? You're paying 20% above market rates. So you're not yet going to be receiving, this was Leo's point, money coming in until you've got your contracts. Are you saying that the 3.5 is enough for 1 year, 2 years?
Right.
5 years?
Yeah, that 3.5 million is probably just a straight guess because we have limited information on the case. Yeah, we hope it can last for 3 years. Why? It's basically quite evidence-based. In our from 2009 to 2012 is 3 years. We've been losing 1 million, right? So for 3 years we can sustain by 1 million budget and employ around 11 employees. So it's.
But it was only in 2011, right, that you exploded in terms of headcount.
Oh, that's
you went to like 9
true,
or 10, so
that's
therefore
true.
You don't know whether you were spending nothing in the first 2 years.
Yeah. But hopefully, let's say it's 1 million for 1 year, Let's say for 201 we will say 1 million, right? And then so if we're using 3.5 million, we can probably continue in this scale or in a bit larger scale for these 3 years. And also, we are not just developing, we're also selling products. when we sell, we do evaluation. So
Yes.
also more revenue.
Sounds like
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.